Hi everyone, I'm gonna try to make this video relatively spontaneous. It's still around 10 in the morning. I'm gonna go out and get another coffee. My voice is a bit gruff. When the voice is supposed to be a fine-tuned instrument, right? Especially when you deliver the word. So I was thinking about Word Sutures, my first collection that kind of covers roughly the period of 1992 to 2002, with a couple of exceptions. And the manuscript, which is very different, calls on very different symbols and energies that comes from the last couple of years, but particularly this year, and that is Loop Vertigo. Additionally, the different kinds of voyages that I have made, especially since my mom's death, and to use the Brazilian coinage, mudanças, which means moves or shifts, but it also means changes. So, God, that light's terrible. Mudança, I don't know if I'm saying it properly because I'm a Spanish speaker, so, but let's say the most proximate word in Spanish is mudança. So in Portuguese it's spelled with a cedilla, and it can also mean, like when you put it with do sexo, can mean change of sex. So the body as home, shifting within the body, transition, my concept of home, having left home, homing desires as well, particularly after mum's passing away. The mother's body as home. There's so many constellated meanings, and I have to write an abstract about home for an article. And I've been tracking through my poetic work, and that first book I mentioned, Word Sutures, the word home crops up 16 times, and I wasn't even aware of it until I did a word search. And besides home, there's house, and there's also homeland that crops up a lot as well. When I was writing this, I don't think I was conscious of repeating that word, but it becomes a vector. And it also is apparent in the opening poem of Loop Vertigo, and there are tracks of home or the unhomely being unhomed, searching for home, just as within that first manuscript, but also in a spiritual sense. Homing desire, which also comes up in my article called Counter Genealogies, which is some of the family history research between India and Australia. I'm obsessed. You know, I was actually homeless as a young person. When I fled home, home always being, you know, that space that's not quite defined, I had to get housing assistance with Hanover Welfare Services. And I was framed as coming from the context of, I guess the terminology back then was family breakdown or dysfunction, not trauma. That wasn't a word that was used in the early 90s in social services. There's a plane going on overhead. Maybe my home is a plane. I don't know. Between here and there, between there and everywhere. Settler colonial. I'm not a settler, but I'm a product of colonialism. The same colonialism that set up settler colonialism in this country. And I'm a guest on Gadigal country. I grew up in Wajib Nungabujar, which is the southwest of Western Australia. That definitely has resonances of home, but in displacement. And my ancestors tried to get a claim or a sense of grounding here, but also felt out of place. I think that was the most obvious colonial transfer, because they were sold a parcel of land which was actually unworkable, and they lost their money out of that. My nana had to suffer paying off every fucking debt. But they'd called their farmland Dilkusha, which is named after the colony in Lucknow and also means heart is happy in Persian and Urdu. So this idea of home is haunting, is spiritual ethos, is search, is longing, is grounding in the skin, in geographies. I don't know how to encapsulate all of this, except that it must be part of the diasporic condition, and so much has been written on that. It's just that I don't do theory that way. I do theory from my body and from memory work and experiences. Yeah. From literal homelessness to psychic homelessness. And the homing desire that continues. Sometimes people in the 80s used to talk about broken homes and tar people. Notice that's almost like a colour metaphor with the same brush. Yeah? Dysfunctional families being brown and black, or not living up to the Anglo ideal. And the Anglo ideal itself is problematic, the paterfamilias, yeah, and the patriarchal family. All of those things are impositions of colonialism. So I got to find a way to anchor some of these concepts into a proposed paper. Unwittingly, I've been working with them all the time. I just don't write about them academically, so to speak. What do you think?